Hello everyone, my name is Uma Chandrasekhar and this is my first video series. In this series, I am exploring the topic of deliberation, the essence of executive leadership. And I am bringing the eminent aspects of the process of deliberation, which is rational and data-driven, to my audience. Welcome to the 38th video episode. Similar to the previous episodes, let me begin with a recap. In the last 3 episodes, I completed the topic on role of originality in deliberate decisions, and in the last episode, I started a new topic on the most expected of them all, which was the exceptional and divergent nature of every role in rule-based deliberation, and was about to talk about the limitations of the process. So let me start from there. The mere idea that there are 3 foundational rules in the shared decision-making process used in deliberation is an indication that deliberation does not advocate the concept of one rule for all, as every rule is conflicting at one end and phenomenal at the other, as I explained in the previous episode. The optimal way to arrive at an efficient rule-based deliberation is to weigh the limitations of the process and overcome the same. And that is what I'm going to elucidate you now. When exploring the limitations of rule-based deliberative process, the importance of structural deliberation is emphasized as its ability to provide knowledge and perspectives to fundamental reasoning process. It is imperative to understand that inclusiveness in a deliberative process must not be a delay factor and must improve the rule-based analysis, as many deliberative decisions must be made quickly and rules make it easier to arrive at those decisions at a faster pace. Thus, deliberation with rule-based analysis must be a tenet which can be immediately drawn out of a textbook of deliberation and applied for a given case study when dealing with quick decisions specifically. I have dealt about this topic of textbook decisions in my own framework of deliberate decisions in the 19th episode of this video series. To make this possible, every rule-based deliberative decision must be accounted or logged or reported, as rule-based decisions deal with their own pitfalls and perks at the same instant. The logging and reporting must be encouraged not merely for deliberate decisions, but also for intuitive and impulsive decisions, as every decision has its merits and demerits and goes through the process of risk assessment consciously and unconsciously, as deliberative process for different professions are subjective to their inherent risks and benefits. One of the many reasons I can state for the above statement is that professionals belonging to different fields use deliberation to arrive at a success in their chosen field of work. As I have emphasized the same many times before. To cite a few examples, managers use deliberation in resource allocation and funding process. Scientists use deliberative process to collect the appropriate data for data analysis to arrive at improved results to develop the ultimate prototype. Engineers deliberate through effective implementation and intended service strategies. Thus, the limitations of rule-based deliberation is broadly classified into 3 categories. Let me take it one by one. And the first one being the purpose of decision making. The purpose of decision making, the participants in the process of decision making, the cost-based rewards of that process of decision making. And the first one being the purpose of decision making. The costs for a decision vary from field to field, event to event, project to project. Thus, a textbook decision must be picked and adopted based on a field of or the profession of the decision maker to suit a required scenario. Since the rules vary in each of the cases, it may be contradictory to use a decision suited for a specific purpose and apply it for a different purpose for many reasons, such as there may be difference in the underlying data, there may be difference in the field of application for which the decision was chosen, and so on. Hence, The risks and the benefits vary too with respect to the chosen field of profession, type of events, or projects. Again, as I have emphasized before, that every event changes with its geographical locations and hence the rules vary accordingly. Every project changes with its customer requirements, hence the rule changes accordingly. And every profession changes with its purpose and hence the rules change accordingly. Now let me move on to the second limitation in the rule-based deliberate decisions. Participants. The second limitation is the participants in the process of decision making. Participants, aka people. Participants in decision making has been under question for a good number of reasons. Listen carefully here. I am exploring the rule of 98% and 2% under this limitation as the first criteria, since the social, economic, and educational backgrounds of the participants have an immense effect on the deliberate decisions. The reason for practicing openness is to bring the decision-oriented knowledge in order to get varied perspectives for the same happening, since the varied perspectives, with the varied perspectives, the rules vary too. As a rule relevant for a rich and famous person can be considered inappropriate for a salaried class individual because the two groups have different values, varied interests, and contrasting outlooks towards personal and professional life. The second criteria when it comes to participants is the quantity. The number of participants have a strong impact on the deliberation process, as the quantity of participation in a group tilts and reflects on the rules of the deliberation. So are the risks and challenges associated with those rules. Hence, participation in a rule-based deliberative process must be done earlier in order to hold on to the threefold concept of decide, announce, and defend, as larger group of individuals might help in defending a decision when it is publicly announced by a smaller group. I want to explain this limitation with an example. Nonetheless, it's time for this first video log, and hence I end this first video log of the 38th episode, and I will come back in the second video log to explore the limitations of rule-based deliberate decisions. See you in my next video. Hi everyone, I am Uma Chandrasekhar, and this is the second video log of the 38th video episode, where I am planning to complete the limitations of rule-based deliberate decisions. When I finished the first video log of this video episode, I was explaining the concept of limitations in rule-based deliberation, and I was exploring the rule of public participation in a deliberative process by citing the concept of decide, announce, and defend. I will start from there and give an example. Presidential elections of the United States of America, the party nominates a candidate by a process called primaries, where the large group of individuals vote to elect their delegates in every state, and these delegates go to their respective party conventions held in an election year to cast their votes and choose their presidential candidate. In the recent 2024 presidential elections, Democratic Party had a problem as the Democratic primary voters elected President Biden as their candidate. But the sudden exit of President Biden due to health and age concerns lifted Vice President Harris as their presumptive candidate. In the Democratic Party convention, which was held on August 19, 2024, Biden's delegates voted to nominate VP Harris and made Kamala Harris the Democratic presidential candidate for the presidential elections of the United States of America in 2024. Though she finally gloriously lost the elections in November 2024 to President Donald J. Trump, one of the many reasons stated for her defeat was lack of public participation at an earlier stage, as she never won a primary and the democratic voters did not know her at all. Now I will move on to the third limitation in rule-based deliberation, that is cost-based rewards of decision making. The rule-based deliberative process also succumbed to the pressures of cost incurred during the process and to the outcome of the process, as every decision weigh differently and hence the costs of the same varies, so are the rewards. Thus, it is a good practice to do a cost-benefit analysis on the deliberative process involving every participant and allowing the cost variations based on purpose and field of decision making. Costs are important because if there are two decisions arrived using two different rules, one has a high cost to benefit ratio while the other has low cost and high benefits, then the first decision may not be accepted. Thus, cost-based rewards is a limitation to the rule-based deliberative process. With the above three limitations, let me start investigating the challenges to rule-based deliberative process. Though limitations and challenges are regularly interchanged as synonyms in the English language, limitations are boundaries caused due to inherent quality of the deliberative process, while the challenges are the barriers due to external forces which needs to be broken or crossed for the deliberative process to be widely accepted. In other words, we need to work around the limitations while working through the challenges. The three challenges I'm planning to consider under this topic are time, resources, and malfactors. Time taken to complete the deliberative process is an external factor, mainly because it's influenced by the authorities who are not involved in the process of decision making. Another reason can be due to its influences on the inherent factor called the participants and the quality of the participants in the deliberative process. To rephrase it, the valuable time contributed by the participants in the deliberative process is a challenge, as time of such participants is precious. Let's consider a scenario where well-informed and knowledgeable people with different perspectives are unable to participate in the process of decision making due to non-availability of time. Then the effectiveness of the decisions can be questioned. For instance, let's consider the previous example of tech regulations. The government of United States of America is drawing some regulations on AI and tech creation and usage. Hence, the participants from the Silicon Valley are invited to advise. But due to lack of time, the best expertise who were chosen to impart the advice are not knowledgeable people but spokespeople. Let's consider as a hypothetical example. Then, the technical consultation might lack quality and hence the regulations might not be internally accepted, as the risk analysis might not be adequate due to lack of expertise. Yes, lack of time might contribute to the lack of good regulations and eventually impacting the rationality of the regulations. I want to continue on with the next challenge, which happens to be resources required. Nonetheless, it's the 11th hour and the clock might strike 12 any time. Just for the info, my background wallpaper is an AI-generated video depicting the rags to riches fairy tale of Cinderella as a part of visual intelligence-based creation of Grok AI. So with the above information, I complete the second video log and also the 38th video episode. I will come back in the next episode, which is the 39th episode of this video log series titled Deliberation, the Essence of Executive Leadership, and finish the topic on the exceptional and divergent nature of every rule-based deliberation. If you have viewed my video this far, you deserve a thank you. Thank you for viewing.